continue. No, let the elders continue. Okay, sir.
President of Nigerian Academy of Letters, Professor B. Olatunji Olorotime, FHSN, FNAL, past presidents of the Academy, the special guest of honor, the Vice Chancellor of University of Lagos, fellows and members of the Academy, representatives of other academies here present, representatives of learned societies, members of the University of Lagos community, invited guests, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you on behalf of the Nigerian Academy of Letters to the 18th Annual Convocation, which shall consist of a convocation lecture and the investiture of 4 regular fellows and 1 overseas fellow. The scientific session shall follow in the afternoon in this same hall. I now invite the President of the Academy, Professor B. Olatunji Olorotime, to declare the convocation open.
Foundation President, our Chief Host, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, past presidents, fellows, members, invited participants, gentlemen of the press. Just a few remarks before the convocation is declared open. I say I'm most delighted to welcome our members and invited participants to this convocation, our 18th. We are gathered here to continue with our traditional preoccupation with promoting national development through vigorous intellectual engagement with issues that are of critical importance to stability of state and society. Our Academy has been consistent in demonstrating concern for a healthy development of the dialectical relationship between state and society. A healthy, coherent relationship between state and society is often a reflection of the stage of growth and development at which a strong state or nation state is the institutionalization of a strong and dynamic society or of its foundational communities. Such states reflect good governance. We have addressed several aspects of this phenomenon in our previous convocations. This year, we are focusing on the subject religion, ethnicity, and citizenship. Our choice of subject, I believe, will enable us to examine related issues of multiculturalism, diversity, rights and duties of citizens in the process of the evolution of stable states and societies. Experiences all over the world illustrate that these issues have always been perennial potent forces in the shaping and fortunes of nations. Making them serve the purposes of a virile nation depends on sensitive and mature statecraft managed by leadership that is committed to inclusiveness in the political culture and institutions under their management. There are no nations that are completely and permanently built. I think we should bear that in mind. In other words, these issues are perennial, and the problem of keeping a nation built and stable is a continuing business. At this convocation, we have a team of truly distinguished scholars to lead us in our deliberations. The convocation lecture is by Professor Jacob Kehinde Olukono. The scientific session in the afternoon will explore other aspects of the issues involved, with opportunities for participants to make their own contributions. At this session, after the convocation lecture, we will be inducting 5 very deserving members as fellows. 4 are regular fellows, 1 as overseas fellow. Details are stated in our program. Expecting that we will all have a rewarding time at this meeting, I declare the convocation open.
President of Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite Professor Jacob Kehinde Olukono, Fellow of Nigerian Academy of Letters, to deliver his lecture.
The President of the Nigerian Academy of Letters, Professor Oloruntimi, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Rahman Bello, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Principal Officers, distinguished Fellows of the Academy, and members of the Academy, friends and visitors, ladies and gentlemen. In 1980, during my field research in Ile-Ife, one of my informants, the late Babalawo Fatoku, rhetorically asked me, why are Christians and Muslims talking so much about becoming the citizens of heaven? Around, as he put it. Why do they hurry to acquire heavenly citizenship? As diviners, continued, we spend an awful lot of time in prayer and ritual, ensuring that our tribes and members of our communities remain citizens of this world. We have to do so that they can fulfill their God-given destiny on earth. Similarly, in St. Paul's letter on Christian citizenship, although he emphasized the importance of Christians claiming citizenship in heaven, he also affirmed his Roman citizenship, which gave him the privilege and honor of living in Rome and of preaching the gospel of Christ in his society. Paul recognized that he would have no place to stand to preach the gospel if he were denied his rights as a citizen of the Roman Empire. Likewise, in the early formation of Islam, Prophet Muhammad's hijrah to Medina placed him in a similar situation. As he assumed the leadership of this small city-state and drafted the constitution in Medina for his multi-ethnic, multi-religious community, the Prophet quickly recognized the deep responsibility to grant all members in Medina, Muslims, Christians, Zoroastrians, traditionalists, and Jews and free slaves, the rights and duties of equal citizenship. Before I deliver my lecture, I would like to thank the distinguished leaders of this August Academy, which is composed of Nigeria's foremost intellectuals, for inviting me to give a lecture on a subject of enormous importance to our nation's survival at this crucial time in its history. And when I was invited to give this lecture, I was charged with the responsibility of giving a lecture on the challenges and opportunities posed by our nation's formidable religious and ethnic identities in relation to governance and development. In addressing the implication of these complicated, hot-button issues of religion and ethnicity, and what they mean for citizenship and nation building, I will examine, in the context of the Nigerian nation state, the intertwined relationship among the building blocks that form the national identity of any state. I wish to approach this lecture by exploring what the Nigerian nation state has been, what it is today, and what it may become in the future. A full understanding of the nation and the state of the nation state, which I believe is central to our concern and the concerns of this academy, requires an assessment of where we stand and who we are as a country. Only by this holistic assessment can we have a clearer appreciation of the structural challenges of nation building facing Nigeria, which must precede any effort to build a sustained framework of good governance and development by which to overcome its present political and socio-economic crisis. And drawing on Emile Duncan and several other social theorists, and on Nigerian political culture and value systems, much of this lecture then will focus or will evoke the idea that in order for Nigeria to have effective participatory citizenship, there must be development of common unifying values that can channel its constituent units into a sustained process of reconciliation and accommodation. Jean-Jacques Rousseau recommends that states work towards creating a national unifying identity. To do so, the state must deploy memory and ceremonial occasions to honor heroes, to condemn misdeeds, and work to establish overriding values and goals that can be commonly held by all its citizens. What these great thinkers are really talking about is how state transforms into nation-state. And by nation-state, I mean a unit that marries the political and geopolitical entity of a state with the cultural entity of a nation. Now, I know there is a controversy as to whether Nigeria is even a nation-state to begin with, or rather a state made up of multiplicity of ethnic or religious nations. At this time, and given the time allotted to me, it is enough to say that I believe that Nigeria is already a nation state, albeit a weak one at this moment in its history. And so, in this lecture, I'm concerned with how Nigeria strengthens its nation state. I believe that only by becoming a stronger nation state, with its citizens deeply united in common purpose, can Nigeria succeed in these perilous times. And the lecture is based on the premise that although religion and ethnicity may be susceptible to centrifugal forces, the identities they spawn are not necessarily dysfunctional, atavistic, reactionary, or unproductive. In fact, human history suggests that when properly invoked, these inherently dynamic and complex forces can serve as effective stimuli for human agency and communal aspirations. Further, and importantly, these identities are not inconsistent with the pursuit of a common identity within a nation state. Who do people say we are? The nation state in crisis. Many analysts of the Nigerian political scene, especially Western political scientists, have concluded that the state of our Commonwealth is a disaster. Indeed, some of these foreign experts have even ventured to write Nigeria's obituary. Critical evidence-based scholarship needs to be taken seriously by well-meaning Nigerians, and particularly by this academy. As Socrates noted so long ago, the unexamined life is not worth living. We will be well advised to scrutinize our national situation closely as a first step towards understanding Nigeria's precarious condition. Only once we do so can we begin to correct its egregious wrongs. The indictments are staggering. In 2006, the American author Kalmia wrote, "This house has fallen. Midnight in Nigeria." In 2015, the late British Africanist Stephen Ellis wrote, "The Present Darkness, a History of Nigerian Organized Crime." Stephen Pierce's book, Moral Economics of Corruption, examined the long duration of corruption in past and present day Nigeria. And more recently, as we are all aware, the British Prime Minister David Cameron, in conversation with Queen Elizabeth, described Nigeria as extraordinarily corrupt. I don't use the word fantastically corrupt because it sounds like bad English to me. President Buhari agreed with the statement. One could argue that the evidence upon which these assessments are based actually highlights Nigerian ingenuity, entrepreneurial spirit, intrepid will, efficiency, and energy, even if these qualities are involved in a desperate pursuit of wealth to the detriment of all other considerations. Sadly, our people have become habituated to the crime and corruption that have come to signify our national character. These vices permeate all phases of our lives, and thanks in part to our lawmakers who legitimize them by their reckless behavior and utterances. And yet, among Nigerians, and even among outsiders, there is so much love for this country, for what it has been and what it can be. Our people have endured much grief and have suffered great economic, political, and social deprivation under the failing state. But even outsiders recognize our potentials for greatness. The potential we hold to lead Africa and the black community out of despair. Nigerians' desire for civility and a good name in the world community is strong, and generation after generation of us feel cheated and robbed of our national birthright. In spite of the poor marks given us by our evaluators, Nigerians are some of the most resourceful people on earth. Our record of achievements in commerce and scholarship is difficult to beat. Yet, our poor national reputation seems to eclipse the achievements and human resourcefulness that are the envy of other African countries. Nigeria's dilemma centers around three building blocks of identity: ethnicity, religion, and citizenship, which coalesce to define our social experience in nation building. They permeate all phases of culture and society. That is to say, our educational, economic, and civil society, as well as shape our moral and spiritual dispositions. I ask that we take a deep and perhaps painful examination of these elements of nation building, particularly in their historical and cultural context, as we search for solutions to national upheaval. How can our understanding of ethnicity, religion, and citizenship assist us in saving ourselves? In trying times such as this, how can we bring justice and a better quality of life to the vast majority of our citizens? Ethnicity, religion, and citizenship as building blocks of nation building. Ethnicity and religion are double-edged swords that cut two ways, offering functional and dysfunctional outcomes, depending on the motives for which they are deployed. As part of the Commonwealth, political leaders can attempt either to minimize or to encourage divisions among the diverse ethnic and religious groups that are the constituent elements of the society, while some visionary leaders have worked intensely to build bridges across the ethnic and religious divide in Nigeria since the decolonization process in the 1950s. Many others have exacerbated divisions along this axis of differentiation. This has led to social economic upheaval, perpetuated injustice, and abused the civil and human rights of all our citizens, but especially of ethnic and religious minorities. When we consider the three building blocks of national identity, ethnicity, religion, and citizenship, we must understand their common capacity or incapacity to move a nation forward towards healing old wounds, but divided local and regional communities. Let us begin with identity based on ethnicity. Ethnic identity is sense of belonging to kinship. forged among people who identify with each other and who share a sense of belonging to a particular territory or land which they regard as an autochthonous place of origin. Ethnic identity is revealed in customs, language, thought system, worldview, and social life. And although it may treat outsiders with contempt, ethnicity includes an ontological, if not a metaphysical, dimension that defines an individual or a group's existence. In Nigeria, as in other nations, an ethnic claim is often seen as a primal claim. An individual shows foremost allegiance to its own ethnic group. One's ethnicity defines one's socio-political territory, cultural tradition, and linguistic heritage. And it may compel an individual to establish boundaries in order to protect and defend what members of the group consider to be an ethnic space or region. Religious identity, a sense of belonging to a faith, often acting in concert with ethnicity. Religion provides a system of beliefs and practices that transcends geographic and political borders. Religion promises the devotee a firm worldview and unwavering sacred location in the universe. For the follower, religion creates a sense of eternal belonging to a faith community. The devotee may join this faith community by conversion, maybe to a traditional African religion group, or to the Abrahamic faiths of Islam and Christianity, or by birth through one's own ancestral lineage and cultural heritage. Some ethnic religions, such as the Benin indigenous religion or Ibibio indigenous religion, are local or regional, and in contrast, Christian and Islamic religions tend to provide their adherents with a wider sense of belonging, a worldview of international connectedness. Identity in citizenship, a sense of belonging to a nation. Together with ethnicity and religion, citizenship confers on a person a legally sanctioned status of identity and privilege. And beyond mere residency in a state, citizenship grants rights and responsibilities. It is the primary good and benefit that one enjoys for being a member of a political community, and the basis by which one is entitled to participate in the major features of its associational life. This includes, but not limited to, the right to work, own property, vote, to demand peace, and to be treated equally under the law. In return, citizenship also requires certain indices of allegiance to the political community, such as following the law, paying taxes, and contributing to its security and welfare. In our modern world, a person without citizenship is said to be stateless, without promise of rights or privileges, and unable to participate in the identity provided by the state. By custom or by law, citizenship puts towards an individual's claim to a country of origin or adoption. And thus, Nigerian citizenship at the basic level refers to membership of a geopolitical territory, the nation state today that we call Nigeria. However, beyond legal status, citizenship can confer a deeply emotional sense of pride and loyalty to the nation, which are often expressed and strengthened through the political traditions, founding myths, and symbols of the nation state, such as the national flag and the national anthem. Like other citizens in many political contexts worldwide, Nigerian citizens may claim multiple ethnic and religious identities. However, Nigeria's convoluted origins and varied religious and ethnic elements complicate true national citizenship. Tensions often arise due to perceptions, real or imagined, of unequal dispensation of law, assets, and resources. An equitable nation-building project aims to convince its constituents that national allegiance is of greater importance than ethnic and religious allegiance. Such an argument is only convincing, however, if the leaders of a sovereign state maintain economic justice, equal representation, and equality for all citizens alike. A major impediment to having a strong nation state is when ethnic and religious identities are exploited to undermine national identity and citizenship. And while any heterogeneous state is susceptible to this fate, those with artificial origin or constructed on the perverse templates of colonial rule have a higher risk of disintegration. This is clearly the case in Nigeria. The nation state was hardly coupled together from an amalgam of ethnic and religious city-states that lacked common ethnic and religious identity. At this moment, 56 years after independence, we need to address this question. Why has Nigeria failed to make significant social, political, and economic progress as a nation state? Nigeria is home to competing ethnic and religious identities that have undermined nation building for so long. But it is my belief that neither ethnicity nor religion is per se antithetical to national citizenship. Indeed, properly constituted and rightly deployed, both promote within their scope values that support nation building, that are done with citizenship. True national citizenship, however, still eludes us Nigeria. The intelligentsia, the ruling political elite, and competing forces fail to understand the complexity of the nation-building project, and that this project and the associated quest for allegiance on the part of the citizens are still works in progress, as the President earlier said today. Of course, it is true that no nation state, whether developed or so-called developed or developing state, can boast of a finished project. Clearly, Western nations never really managed their enmity of tribal warfare. Both world wars testified to the fact, not to mention the current crisis in the European Union, the United Kingdom, Germany, or United States. To understand nation building in Nigeria, then, we need a little bit of historical perspective. Historical perspective from independence to the military might. At the time of independence in 1960, Nigeria founding mothers and fathers felt that ethnicity and tribalism were primary problems to be tackled head-on. They actively worked to create national unity. Though tribe and tongue differed, the first national anthem celebrates the fact that we endured and were united in solidarity. Early on, scholars and respected political figures placed little importance on religion as a marker of identity, and rightly so. Despite ethnic conflict and civil unrest, religious pluralism and spirituality flourished in the 60s, based on the moral values common to Islam, Christianity, and African traditional religion. Minor religious scrimmages mark the possibility of creating a perfect peace. Protestants and Catholics speared in the east. Sunnis and Ahmadiyas wrangled in the southwest. Tijaniyas and the Quadrillas rumbled in the north. And mainline Christian churches exhibited silent disdain for the so-called white garment Aladura churches. Nevertheless, no major sectarian violence erupted, and the overpowering centrality of God was recognized as a unifying worldview under Allah, Olorun, Chineke, or Osanobua. I've devoted quite a number of my scholarship to talking about civil religion at this particular time under this unifying sacred canopy and the centrality of God, the God talk. I will not go into that today. But ultimately, though violence and civil disorders prevailed, resulting in a civil war, many perished on all sides of the political, religious, regional, and ethnic divide. The Biafran Nigerian Civil War of 67 to 70 tore all notions of sacred national unity asunder. Terror on the battlefield partitioned the country. Their recommendations be taken very, very seriously. I also suggest that as humanists, there is the importance of the practice of culture, festivals, fiction, poetry, and so on, that we can invoke, and not only as teaching tools, but as forms of values or morals, or sources of values or morals for guiding the youth. Nigeria must confront a most challenging problem: the apparent conflict between religion and national citizenship. This seems to me to be the most critical issue. There's nothing wrong in belonging to any religious organization, be it a born-again evangelical Christian or Islamic and so on. But we must all recognize that citizenship demands that we take very seriously issues relating to the nation state. And as my parting word, I believe that if ordinary Nigerians lack the hope of affecting peaceful and meaningful democratic changes in the affairs of this nation as an expression of their citizenship, then any expectation of achieving national unity is both hollow and insincere. My suggestion is that Nigerian leaders search their souls and deliberate on the mechanism for promoting a new moral and political discourse that will produce practical and workable results that will usher the country in the direction of true citizenship. This will involve a nation that is built on true federalism, that legally recognizes the country's multi-ethnic and multi-religious composition. This may send the tide of discontent and disunity that is currently visible across the country. Thank you very much.
President of Nigerian Academy of Letters, Professor B. Olatunji Orotime, past presidents of the Academy, I now specially recognize the presence in our midst of our host, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Rahman. I also recognize the representative of the President of the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacists, in person of Professor Mrs. Cecilia Uhoman Iguilo. In the same vein, I also recognize the presence of the representatives of other academies. You are welcome. The President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, we now come to the investiture of fellows. Professor Akamu G. Adebayo, please step forward. President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite the public orator, Professor Dele Layola, to read the citation on Professor Adebayo.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I hereby present Professor Akamu Adebayo, a Professor of History, Director of the Center for Conflict Management, and from 2003 to 2009, Executive Director of the Institute for Global Initiatives at Kennesaw State University at Kennesaw, Georgia, in the United States of America. Professor Adebayo was the first graduate of history with a first-class honors degree at the University of Ife in 1979. He became what has become is now what has become a brilliant academic career. First, as a graduate assistant from 1980, becoming a senior lecturer in 1990, visiting associate professor at York University, Canada, from 1991 to 1992, associate professor at Kennesaw from 1992 until 1997, when he became professor at the same university. The defining area of Professor Adebayo's scholarship as an economic historian is his pioneering foray into the history of revenue allocation, revenue sharing, and indigenous financial institutions. He is thus one of those who believe history to be an applied science and a bridge between the core humanities and the social sciences. Professor Adebayo has also made significant contributions in the areas of conflict studies, migration and identity, as well as policy in both indigenous and globalizing communities. Professor Adebayo is an accomplished administrator, having been Assistant Dean of the College of Humanities and the Social Sciences from 2002 through 2003. He had also been Visiting Fellow, Institute for Modern Oriental Studies, Berlin in 1994, Visiting Scholar at the Dominican Institute, Ibadan in 1998, as well as Visiting Professor to the University of Ibadan since 2009. This honoree has a wide-angled intellectual lens, having teaching competence in at least 16 broad areas of the curriculum. He is an astute administrator and a proven mentor to his students. He has either supervised or is supervising 5 doctoral theses and about the same number of MA students at the moment. He is the beneficiary of the following awards, amongst others: the University of Ife Prize for Overall Best Performance in the BA degree for 1979, in 2 consecutive years, 1994 and 1995, the African American Students Alliance Award for Dedication and Commitment to Black Students at Kennesaw State University campus. In 1998 and 1999, he was nominated for the Distinguished Scholarship Award. Presidents and distinguished leaders of the Nigerian Academy, Professor Adebayo is not only the series editor for the Lexington book series on conflict and security in the developing world, he also serves as editorial board member and reviewer on 2 eminent international journals. It is this accomplished scholar, a 2009 Tommy and Beth Holder Awardee, a 2014 Ida B. Wells African and American Diaspora Studies Program Awardee, and an extraordinary mentor that I present to you, Mr. President, for the admission to the fellowship of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite you to admit Professor Akamuji Adebayo as a Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
Great pleasure. On behalf of the Nigerian Academy of Letters, admit you as one of our participants.
Professor Duro Oni, please. President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite the public orator, Professor Dele Laiwola, to read the citation on Professor.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Professor Drew Oni had his early university education at the University of Ibadan and later took an MFA degree from the prestigious California Institute of Arts, specializing in lighting and stage design. After a while, he returned to Ibadan, where he cut his teeth to further sharpen them in the theater, where he took a PhD in 2002. Professor Duro had been Senior Arts Fellow and Head of Auditorium Management at the Center for Cultural Studies of the University of Lagos from 1992 to 1997. He became Senior Lecturer in the new Department of Creative Arts from 1997 to 2000. And from 2000 to 2005, he was an Associate Professor in the same department and Professor from 2005 to date. Professor Oni was fortunate to be the pioneer director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Lagos from 2008 through 2009, a center which is now firmly established and thriving. A seasoned university administrator and manager, Professor Ole was head of the Department of Creative Arts from 2006 to 2009 and became dean from 2009 to 2013. From 4th February 2013 to the present, he obtained a higher call to serve as the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Management Services of the University of Lagos. That was his second return to the university policy org, having served on the Governing Council of the University from 2007 to 2011. Professor Duru Oni had also served outside of the university, especially in government. For instance, he was the Director Chief Executive of the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization from 2000 to 2006. Prior to this, he served as Special Assistant Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Culture and Social Welfare from October 1990 to February 1991. He was also Special Assistant and Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports from February 1991 through February 1992. In his chosen field of technical theatre, he has garnered ample recognition, credit, and awards. He earned a 2003 Gold Award as the Technical Director for the Technical Committee of the Commonwealth Heads of Government Meeting, CHOGO, the Association of Nigerian Theatre Practitioners Award for Excellence in 2003, and in 1986 he earned the Nigerian Television Authority Award for Lighting Design for the stage adaptation of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, the television series. Again, in 1999, he got a special commemoration from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. for design work on Things Fall Apart done at that center. Professor Oni has been privileged to be part of at least 13 international theatre festivals and is consultant to many studios and technical institutions. He had also been external examiner and assessor to major universities within and outside of Nigeria. He is widely published in his chosen field of technical theatre, design and management. President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, and Congregation of the Academy. It is this consummate scholar, this consummate university teacher and administrator, an astute policy maker and manager that I present to you for admission to the fellowship of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite you to admit Professor Oni as a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
It's with great pleasure that I greet you as fellow Nigerian Academy of Letters. Congratulations.
Professor Mary E. Mutupe Kalawale, please step forward. President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite the public orator, Professor Dele Laiwola, to read the citation. Mr.
Mr. President, I herewith present to you a feminine icon, Professor Mary Edmond, who was formerly a professor of English at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. She is now not only a professor of English at Kwara State University, Malete, but also the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies in the same university. Professor Kolawole took a BA Honors degree in English of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, in 1972. After a stint at Kwara State Polytechnic and Oyo State College of Arts and Science, she transferred her services to the then University of Ife in 1982. She took an MA in 1981 and a PhD in literary theory in 1985 from the same university. Professor Kolawole's main areas of research are literary theory, post-colonial and women's literature, and gender studies. She attained the enviable position of professor in 1999. Professor Kolawole's research is rigorous, trenchant, incisive, and thorough. Her observations and conclusions are grounded, contextualized, inclusive, and multidisciplinary. This shows her as an original researcher of great drive and talent, not in the least devoid of sprightly humor and vitality. She once affirmed that, and I quote her, that her research specialization derives from the need to speak back in a positive way that will enhance scholarly relevance and endogenous interpretation of literature. I saw that Western literary theorists who pose as mouthpieces for Africans in post-colonial and in particular gender studies present outsider views. End of quotation. Mr. President, for instance, she rejected the notion of radical feminism as exclusively Western, and with Alice Walker and Chikwenle Okonjo-Iweala became pioneers in the invention of the term womanism as an option to feminism. This term is a preferred option for African researchers because it is less conflictual, more inclusive, and carries both men and women along. This invention explains the basis of her fame and recognition in both national and international ivory towers. Professor Kolawole is the first woman professor of English and in the Faculty of Arts at Obafemi Awolowo University. From 2004 through 2006, she was head of department and chair of English and Women's Studies at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. From 2003 to 2006, she was a member of the University Governing Council. From 1991 to 2000, she was editor, Journal of Gender and Development in Africa. From 1998 to 2002, she was editor-in-chief, IFE Studies in African Literature and the Arts. Professor Kolawole has been on the jury of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Commonwealth Writers' Prize, and of course the Nigerian LNG Literary Awards. She had been a guest researcher on the sponsorship of foundations such as Rockefeller, Ford, Carnegie, Association of Commonwealth Universities and the British Council, German DAAD, Swedish International Development Agency, the Feminist Press of New York, and the African Gender Institute of Cape Town. Twice, she had been a grantee of the United States National Endowment for Humanities in 1990 and 2000, respectively. This distinguished scholar had won enviable laurels as guest speaker in most major countries of the Western world, and of course, for charity in good measure, now annual lecturer at Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba in 2011. Mr. President, sir, it is this urbane scholar a cosmopolitan and focused matriarch in her own right, an astute and dedicated teacher, a researcher of rare drive and talent, who has done womanhood and Africa proud, that I present to you for the award of the Fellowship of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite you to admit Professor Mary E. Modupe Kalawale as a Fellow of Nigerian Academy of Letters. Professor Victor Olusegun Awunusi, please step up. President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite the public orator, Professor Dele Laiwola, to read the citation on Professor Awunusi.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I hereby present to you Professor Victor Olusegun Awunusi, a distinguished academic and an outstanding manager of higher education in Nigeria. Professor Awunusi had a BA Honours degree from the University of Lagos in 1979 and a PhD from the University of London, specializing in English phonetics and linguistics. Professor Awunusi's career as a teacher is quite comprehensive. He had his humble beginnings as an elementary school teacher from 1970 to 1972, a high school teacher from 1973 through 1977. His university teaching career from 1980 until he became a professor of English in the year 2000. So he has straddled the entire gamut of education. His postgraduate supervisory and mentoring roles began in 1986, and to date has supervised at least 76 MA/MPhil candidates and 10 PhDs. His research interests and publications cover three broad areas. First, English language and linguistics, where he has published widely in sociolinguistics, phonetics, and phonology. Two, language and education, where his publications have dwelt largely on applied linguistics and English as a foreign language. Third, language and society, where he has explored language planning and policy in Nigeria, as well as the comparative use of English and African languages in the democratic process. This candidate, apart from his teaching and publishing career, is also a public intellectual. He has, among other awards, awards, won the Nigerian English Studies Association Merit Award in 2006, an ACU, that is Association of Commonwealth Universities, Fellowship in 2007, an Ogun State 10 Giants in Education Award in 2010, ASU Leadership Award of the same year, and was nominated a Fellow of the Nigerian English Studies Association in 2014. Apart from serving as the head of English department from 2005 to 2007, he has served his alma mater in many other capacities, as University Orator from 1999 to 2003, University Master of Ceremonies from 2000 to 2007, and Chairman, Unilag Radio Management Board from 2002 through 2008. Professor Awolusi's forte is his contribution to the management of higher education in Nigeria. For instance, he has been Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology in Ogun State from 2007 through 2010. Vice Chancellor Taisholari University of Education Ijebu-Ode from 2010 through 2013. And was appointed the Vice Chancellor of the defunct Federal University of Education, Kano. It is therefore my distinct pleasure and privilege to present this distinguished man of letters, this academic of note, for admission, Mr. President, to the Fellowship of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite you to admit Professor Victor Olusegun Awolusi as a Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Letters. Professor Samuel Chinedu Kala, please step forward. President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite the public orator, Professor Dele Layiwola, to read the citation on Professor Okada.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, Professor Samuel Chinedum Ukala, or as is popularly called, Sam Ukala, in a schematic sense, belonged to the second generation of Nigerian playwrights and dramatists whose preoccupations are with the post-bellum period of Nigeria's history and social consciousness. They are often reflexive in their engagement with a folk society that gives rise to nostalgia. He had his university education first at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, where he graduated with honors in English in 1977. He had his MA and PhD degrees in 1983 and 1986 respectively in theatre arts at the University of Ibadan. This honoree had shown early promise even as an undergraduate. For instance, in 1976, He won the Reverend J.B. Landy Prize for Best Short Story for his short story, Lump in the Pond. In the same year, he won the British Council Prize for Best All-Round Student in the Department of English of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. In 1977, he won the NYSC Drama Award for his play, Darkness in the Distance. In 1989, he won the Anna British Council Prize for Drama. In 2000, he was the first runner-up for the Anna Poetry Prize for his collection, In My Hermitage. Professor Okala had been a man of industry, having worked in the personnel department of both the Labour Brothers and the Nigerian National Petroleum Company before venturing into full-time university teaching. In the various universities where he had taught, Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma, the University of Benin, Delta State University, Abraka, and so on and so forth, he proved his mettle. In these universities, he served as head of department, dean, and subsequently as the provost of the Asaba campus of the Delta State University. In these universities also, his engagement with the theatre arts curriculum is breathtaking, as indicated by the various courses he taught. The main frame of his engagement with scholarship is his original concept of folkism as the moving spirit behind the writing and conceptualization of African drama. This would seem to have paid off in the laurels that accrued to him thereafter. Professor Okala is fairly well traveled. He won the Commonwealth Academic Staff Fellowship to visit the workshop theatre at the University of Leeds during the 1993-94 session. In the 1998-1999 session, he visited the Horse and Bamboo Theatre Company at Waterfoot, Lancashire, UK. To date, Professor Okala had published over 30 creative works and had published over 35 books or essays in learned journals. President and the leaders of the academy, it is this compulsive man of the theatre, this mentor and teacher, this noteworthy and distinguished academic that I present to you for admission to the regular fellowship of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite you to admit Professor Samuel Chinedu Okala as a Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Letters.
Great President, I admit you as fellow Nigerian Academy of Letters.
President, Nigerian Academy of Letters, I now invite Professor Duro Olu to respond on behalf of the new.
The President, founding President, past Presidents of the Nigerian Academy of Letters, Vice Chancellor, and members of management of the University of First Choice and the nation's pride. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the fellow awardees, Professor Samuel Kala, Professor Victor Olusegun Awonusi, Professor Mary E. Modupe Kolawole, and Professor Akamu Adebayo. I would like to express our collective gratitude to the College of Fellows and the Nigerian Academy of Letters for the honor done to us. A cursory look at the previous and current fellows will give you an insight into how privileged we are. Notable among the fellows include Professors Ayoban Ushe, Ayobanjo, J.F. Ajajayi, Wole Soyinka, J.P. Clark, Adele Afigo, Chinua Achebe, Kunle Adeniyan, Dan Zebaye, Monsali Jubre, etc., etc. Indeed, it is self-evident that we counted worthy of our fellowship of such a distinguished academy is an honor that we will cherish forever. When I tried to figure out my selection to give the acceptance speech on behalf of the awardees, first I realized that my name was in the middle of the list on the board. So if you count from the top, 2 and then my name. If you count from the bottom, 2 and then my name. Perhaps also because I'm known to give brief speeches and also for holding short meetings. It is a thing of honor and great joy to all of us that the University of Lagos at the moment is the home of 4 of the country's academies: the Nigerian Academy of Arts, of Letters, Academy of Science, Academy of Engineering, and only recently the Academy of Pharmacy. This is therefore an honor to the Vice Chancellor and the University of Lagos for being such great hosts. On a final note, I recall as a young student at the University of Ibadan in 1971 how we all gathered at the Trenchard Hall to listen to the Dean of the Faculty of Arts of that great university. He walked into the hall with all of us standing. Of course, before us was an academic giant, a god to us. I'm even more delighted to note that the same man is here with us today and still waxing strong in the person of the founding president of the Nigerian Academy of Letters, Professor Ayo Bagboshi. Mr. President, founding president, Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, long live our great academy, long live the University of Lagos, and long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I thank you all on behalf of the awardees for your kind attention. Thank you.